This is Monty back from DPL Surveillance Equipment. Very nice, gorgeous day today, you guys, in sunny Southern California, more specifically Camarillo, California. I'm not going to do too much today at all. Just going to finish up my chores and straighten up a few things and publish this article. I think it's going to be an interesting article and podcast, I have to say so myself, especially for those of you who like to travel the world, like me and my wife do. Let me see, before I get into that, what else is going on? Let's see. Well, I don't know. I think we covered the economy pretty well. Excuse the noise, you guys. Been reading a little bit about the progress that the people are making. I think what they call it, geneticists or something, as far as being able to take DNA from animals and such, and extract them and extract the DNA and implant it into other animals, for instance, for the sake of preserving extinct species or species that are going into extinction. I'll probably cover this in another article, but it looks like there's going to be the possibility of never having to worry about animals, plants, trees, or whatever going into extinction. As far as I can tell, that these guys are making a lot of progress, and if we can save certain animals, again, plants and trees or whatever, from going into complete extinction, maybe we'll buy ourselves some time to learn about the biodiversity of the planet that we live on, in terms of what good supplements and such that we can derive from the plants, and how animals protect themselves from disease and famine and harsh weather conditions or whatever. Nothing wrong with education, trust me. See what else is going on. My name is Monty Henry, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. I run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. I do have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products. And I have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We are the largest inventory of items that not only can you buy, but you can rent and lay away as well. We have the largest media library, bar none, consisting of articles on such diverse topics as economics and finance, cybersecurity, of course, surveillance and counter-surveillance, including cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, including, what else, anti-terrorism, technologies and products. I know I'm missing something, but you name it, we're covering it. There's just an abundance of information there. This article I'm going to put under miscellaneous, because it involves world travel, traveling the world. So that's where you'll find it under there, in addition to the podcast, which will of course be under video, in the video library. We do accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, and Bcash in the shopping cart, and also, what else? Let's see. We want to poke a finger in the eye of MasterCards and the Visas and American Express. That dying dinosaur, prehistoric, outdated, fiat-based system that's responsible for ripping us off and responsible for allowing hackers and such to steal billions and billions of dollars worth of, billions and billions of data records belonging to the American citizens and the citizens all over the United States. When your identity gets stolen from the MasterCards and the Visas and the banks and the government agencies and such, that's usually a problem, because a lot of times we're also we're including biometrics and a lot of the things that we do now. And believe it or not, credit cards and banks want to look more and more deeply into biometrics. So you're going to find more and more people scanning the retinas and irises, scanning the fingers and whatever they can put, whatever biometrics that you can give up to the banks and the credit card companies and whatever. That information is going to be just another bit of information that the hackers are going to be able to steal and use to compromise your own accounts. So just make sure you understand those industries aren't doing us any favors. With Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, the only thing you need from me to transfer $1 million or receive $1 million or $1 or $2 billion is the Bitcoin address. That's it. I don't need your name, phone number, fingerprint, iris scan, nothing like that. And you don't have to worry about intermediaries, banks, government agencies, institutions getting in the way of those transactions. It's that simple, that easy. So make sure you understand who the enemy is and who is going to help you and who's going to assist you with bringing finances and economics into the 21st century. Okay, you all know the story about the creature from Jekyll Island. If you don't, read it. If you do, pass it along, share it with others. We want to make sure we make the transition as quickly and seamlessly and easy as possible out of the fiat-based system into the cryptocurrency, blockchain-based, transparent system that's decentralized and peer-to-peer, redundant, self-healing system that is borderless and peerless, and it's going to make a major difference as far as adding accountability to transactions and even government agency as they try to print money and all that other stuff. That's going to be a thing of the past. What else is going on? The website is newly designed. Works great, looks good, as I typically mention. Lots of new products, lots of used products. Get your state-of-the-art, law enforcement grade, 24-hour tech sales and customer support items on the website, and should look good on the mobile and the smart devices, PDAs and such. So go there and take a look around and let me know what you think. And let's see what today's topic is all about, by the way. Today's topic is covering, well, the exact name is World Travelers Explore Frontier Tourism and Newly Discovered Places. Again, World Travelers Explore Frontier Tourism and Newly Discovered Places. Now, this is a long article, a lot of information, a lot of very good information. If you travel the world, if you like traveling the world like me and my wife do, you're going to appreciate these additional tidbits of information regarding not only seeing the most visited places. A lot of us, we went to Machu Picchu, we went to Lake Titicaca, we've been to the Niagara Falls and the Grand Canyons and certain places inside and outside the United States, Coral Castle in Florida, you name it. But a lot of you and a lot of us, we haven't been to and we haven't seen some of these newly discovered places. In addition to the newly discovered places, you want to check out what's known as frontier tourism. Frontier tourism really refers to the idea that a lot of times you have hot spots all over the globe where, people for the most part have not been able to really go there because if there's political instability, economic or something. But some of these places are starting to really turn around, and they're really starting to cater and open the doors to tourism. And they're doing a very good job, such as Gabon, Gabon, Gabon in Africa. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about specifically newly discovered places. Newly discovered places are now on the map for world travelers because, see, a lot of times you didn't have the infrastructure in India. You didn't have the roads. You didn't have the 4- or 5-star hotels and such. Even though not all of us need a 4- or 5-star hotel, it doesn't hurt to have it if you want it. But yeah, a lot of times the infrastructure just wasn't in place. The staff and the support infrastructure just wasn't there in a lot of these newly discovered places. But as we're finding out, when you visit Machu Picchu, a lot of those a lot of those destinations are over traveled, and that there's just too many people too often inundating those particular sites, and it's just getting overrun with tourists. So you're gonna find that the newly discovered places that I'm mentioning are going to be very good alternatives if you want to get away from some of the places that are being over traveled, where you have too much tourism going on. Okay, so let's take a look at the specifics of the article or the podcast. We'll let this plane go by. Going to get a few distractions every once in a while, of course. Newly discovered places. 1. The African country of Gabon. 2. The remains of a royal empire in India. 3. The one-time Mayan capital in Guatemala. 4. Sprawling Roman mansions in Portugal. 5. Pyramids on steroids in Sudan. 6. An ancient capital in Morocco. 7. The lost city of Colombia. 8. A lion-shaped fortress in Sri Lanka. Forget about Machu Picchu, 7 newly accessible wonders of the world. These places have all the visual splendor and historic appeal of the world's most famous monuments, but few tourists have been able to see them until now. If visiting the world's most ancient temples and monuments, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza, Petra, inspires your inner Indiana Jones, just imagine what it would be like to explore world wonders few people have ever even heard of yet. Some of the world's most staggering historical sites, places that have long existed as local secrets, have recently been made accessible thanks to a slew of intrepid tour operators, hoteliers, or infrastructure developments. In the coming years, these places will find their way onto hordes of global travelers' bucket lists. But for now, they are still relatively under the radar. There are the dramatic 1,000-year-old temple complexes in India that are immaculately preserved, but were hard to visit in style until the area's first luxury hotel opened. There is a jungle-shrouded archaeological site in Colombia that predates Machu Picchu by 650 years, and a spectacular sacred city in Sri Lanka that's until now been off limits because of underdeveloped infrastructure and political turmoil, and that's only a drop in the bucket. A willingness to move a little off the beaten path often provides great rewards, says Lisa Ackerman, Executive Vice President of World Monuments Fund, who says that the joy of discovery and a lack of crowds makes these unexplored sites especially exciting for visitors. But the benefits of visiting these places go far beyond that. Spreading visitation among more sites, she says, is an important key to tourism management everywhere, as proven by the fact that over-visitation to Machu Picchu continually threatens to shut the site down for tourists for good. It's not just Peru either. The over-tourism phenomenon is playing out across the globe, and by creating a viable tourism economy around newly discovered sites, travelers motivate locals to take pride in their heritage and invest in and invest in its preservation. With that in mind, we've assembled a list of the newly accessible wonders of the world, along with the practical information you need to get there first. Frontier tourism. A Gabonese gambit is at the leading edge of a trend attracting a growing list of African economies. Frontier tourism products and places that visitors often more closely associated with conflict or instability. Gabon. For the past decade, an energetic conservationist has been building the foundations for a tourism industry in Gabon, where rare forest elephants stroll down the beach, hippopotamuses surf in the ocean waves, and blue-faced mandrills march by the thousands through the jungle. The challenges for Gabon's National Parks Authority and its lead, Lee White, include transporting clients to remote camps in a country with little infrastructure, recruiting pygmy trackers from deep within the jungle, and training anti-poaching units who have to battle armed hunters and illegal gold miners in one of the world's most pristine stretches of wilderness. Over the past decade, with the support of government and overseas philanthropists, Mr. White has transformed Gabon's Parks Authority from a group with just 100 staff with a budget of $500,000 to a $30 million operation with 800 employees, 175 cars, 35 boats, and a number of aircraft, including a helicopter. Tourists have begun to arrive, with visitors up by a third this year through July compared with the average over the same period in 2017 at the country's most popular national park for international tourists. Mr. White's Gabonese Gambit is at the leading edge of a trend attracting a growing list of African economies, frontier tourism products, and places that visitors often more closely associate with conflict or instability. In recent years, a small but swelling segment of the tourism market has been drawn to places like Chad, the Democratic Republic of Congo's Virunga National Park, which was recently closed after 2 British tourists were kidnapped and their ranger killed, and war-torn Central African Republic. Tour operator Thomas Cook Group plc recently sent a delegation to Sierra Leone, which has struggled with civil war and more recently an Ebola epidemic, to discuss offering package tours. There is a trend recently of interest in unexplored places, said Andre Rodriguez Aquino, a senior natural resources management specialist at the World Bank, who advises African governments on their tourism sector. It's very linked to nature, places that have pristine, unspoiled nature. The numbers are small compared with sub-Saharan Africa's broader tourism market of $43.7 billion in 2017, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council. But countries with the strongest growth in international arrivals in 2016 compared with the year early were Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Eritrea, and Togo, according to the African Development Bank. A lot of people who have traveled previously, particularly in Africa, are looking for different experiences in different places, said Peter Fernhead, Chief Executive of African Parks, a non-governmental organization that manages 15 national parks in partnership with governments across Africa. See if we can let this plane go over. The fact that these places are so edgy, we're finding that there is an increasing interest. The niche but expanding market for frontier tourism in fractious security environments has governments and companies seeking to balance revenue potential against the investments and know-how needed to ensure safety. Oil-rich Gabon, a sparsely populated country the size of Colorado on Africa's Atlantic seaboard, has one of the highest per capita incomes in sub-Saharan Africa and is one of the more stable countries in the continent's central region. But when Mr. White took the reins of the country's newly discovered National Parks Agency in 2009, the vast nature reserves that cover about 20% of the country existed essentially only on paper. The first priority when I was appointed was to manage the parks and, when necessary, defend them, Mr. White said. He created anti-poaching units and armed rapid response teams to push, with much success, ivory poachers out of the parks. There are exceptions. Park officers have had 2 gun battles with illegal gold miners in a park called Burungao in the past 6 months, Mr. White said. At Zakauma, a national park in the desert nation of Chad, poachers had massacred about 90% of the park's elephants by the time African Parks took over its management in 2010. Since then, the group has transformed the region into a haven for one of Africa's largest single herds, now about 560 elephants strong. By establishing flights to link the park with Chad's capital city and joining with a group of private guides as part of the marketing strategy, park's revenue is expected to be just under $1 million this year, up from about $50,000 in 2015. The mobile tented safari experience that African parks offer is booked about 18 months in advance, but it takes a maximum of just 8 guests at a time and is limited to the dry season. It's not a sustainable solution for the park, said Stuart Slavert, head of conservation-led economic development for African parks. Experts say national parks across the continent will struggle to expand their tourism revenue without a cooperative and supportive government. In Gabon, Mr. White's plans have been aided by his close relationship with current President Ali Bongo Ondimba, established while his father, Omar Bongo Ondimba, was still in power. Though Gabon is theoretically a democracy, the elder Mr. Bongo ruled for 42 years, and the current president, who took over when he died in 2009, won close, tense elections in 2016, marred by accusations of fraud that ignited countrywide rioting. This year, Mr. White began actively marketing safari-type trips to the parks for the first time. Possible sightings include sea turtles hatching on the country's beaches, humpback whales breaching in the surf, and western lowland gorillas lazing while their babies climb and swing around trees, a literal jungle gym. It's not savanna tourism. You have to work to see this stuff, said Michael Nichols, a photographer who took a picture of Gabon's surfing hippos that Time magazine calls one of the 100 most influential images of all time. That doesn't preclude that it's friggin' unbelievable. It could be like the Amazon. Newly discovered places. The remains of a royal empire in India. Under newly discovered places, you guys, I have so much information that I think I want you guys to read the remainder of, the remainder of it. Let's see how far I can get. If you read the remainder of it yourself, let's see what it's going to be like. How long? Newly discovered places. Okay. Anyway, under newly discovered places, I'll let you guys read it for yourself. Newly discovered places, you have, the remains of a royal empire in India, as I mentioned. And you can look at all the details yourself. The one-time Mayan capital in Guatemala. I'm talking about the sprawling Roman mansions in Portugal. Pyramids on steroids in Sudan. An ancient city capital in Morocco. I'm talking about the lost city of Colombia. And then I'll mention lastly, a lion-shaped fortress in Sri Lanka. So, for you people who like to travel the world, and you've seen most of the more traveled places, you're gonna want to check out some of these newly discovered places. Again, over-traveled destinations, they're becoming a reality for a lot of people. And me and my wife, we were in Peru, and we were talking to the tour guides and such, and they were talking about how do you close down Machu Picchu or something for a little while, or do you close it down permanently because too much foot traffic? And I suggested that you close it down temporarily, make some refurbishments, if you will, to shore up areas that are too much, that are traveled too much and get too much foot traffic, and just try to stabilize it, a little bit. That's what some other sites are doing, but I don't know whether or not that's a permanent solution or just a temporary solution. Anyway, as you're going to see going forward, more and more of the more traveled sites are going to get their traffic diverted to some of these newly discovered sites. So you may want to take advantage of going there first, as compared to not getting a good experience going to the most popular or the most common destinations around the planet. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this session, and if you want to read more about these the frontier destinations and the newly discovered sites, take a look at the article, take a look at the podcast, or listen to the podcast. And I got a few resources, a few books that are mentioned, and other things to take a look at that are included with the article. So anyway, as I like to say at the conclusion of every article and podcast, keep your eyes and ears open and stay safe out there. Have a good day. Thanks. Take care. Bye.